at the core of why I do what I do is to have more people live their life their way, So I often use in social media, my life, my rules, because I fundamentally believe that we deserve to live how and what we want to live. So today we're going to talk about living your life by default, which we tend to do a lot. All these sentences, I should, I must, this is how it's done, I can't. These are all pinpointers to exactly getting out of living by default. And my guest this week is AmyLee Westervelt. AmyLee is a certified clinical hypnotherapist and a master neuro-energetic practitioner. And she pulls from her extensive knowledge to create powerful coaching experience for each of her clients. She is the creator of the Dream Design Discipline, where she helps clients name their dreams, show them a path to bring those dreams forward, and then empowers them to unleash their dreams. AmyLee, thank you so much for accepting my invitation today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here.
AmyLee, we talk about a topic, and last time we spoke together, and even before we started recording, we are so passionate about this same topic together because we see so many people stuck in this trap. And some people notice it and some people don't realize it. But a lot of people, and even entrepreneurs, live by default. So before we get on the how and why and whatever, what does it mean for you to live by default?
So I love this question, and I have a really fun little visualization that I like to do that kind of explains this. So I want you to think of if you go to a really fancy restaurant and you get to go to the chef's table and you've had this fantastic dinner. The chef's been out there, he's conversating with you, you guys are having a great time. And he then asks you, what do you want to have for dessert? And your eyes get wide and you're like, oh my God, what do I want? Ooh. Well, I really love chocolate, and I think it would be great if, you could flambe it. That would be awesome. I've heard that's cool. And I really love raspberry. And he gets this big grin on his face and he goes like this and goes into the kitchen and he makes it for you and he brings it back and he puts it on this plate and it's so beautifully presented. And you take a bite and it is everything you ever desired. It is like the most incredible thing that you've ever had. Okay. Versus you go to the same restaurant, but this time you're sitting out in the house and you're having dinner and dinner's great. And then all of a sudden they push the little cart by and they've got all the desserts on the tray. And you're like, oh, I like chocolate. I'm going to take that chocolate piece. And you take a bite out of it and you're like, oh, the inside's red. It's probably raspberry, but it's not raspberry. It's cherry. And that cake is kind of stale and it's not what you wanted at all, right? That is living by default, like picking from what's available. So, and this is what we see a lot of times especially with entrepreneurs, right? We've been trained that we have lots of choices, but we don't necessarily have choices. We have choices among the choices, right? It comes in 17 different colors, and that's great, but it's still that one thing. So the difference when we talk about living by default, it's like, okay, the 2.5 kids in the white picket fence. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And one of the hallmarks of being an entrepreneur is thinking and living outside of the box. So we really want to make sure that we're moving away from that default energy and starting like, what do I want? What do I want this to look like?
So how does it look like in a day-to-day life of an entrepreneur to live by default?
So if you're living by default, you're basically just kind of following the status quo and what everybody says is normal, right? It's kind of like normal trajectory for your business. Well, if I made 10,000 this month, then I can expect a 10% increase and I'll make 12,000 next month. Or, well, I'm going to go sign up for a marketing course because everybody else is signing up for a marketing course. Or I'm going to go buy a house because everybody turns 25 and buys a house, right? Or I'm going to go get married because that's what you do. I did that. It wasn't a good idea not to do that. But I'm going to, go do this because this is what you do when you get to this point. So we kind of mistake milestones for these default choices that we make because our parents did it, because it's what's expected of us, because it's what makes sense. And I will tell you that the biggest growth that I've had in my business and really in my life has been things that never made sense.
It does. And it does. And I so agree on like the things that actually helped us the most in our businesses is things that are no longer by default. So personally, what I see in terms of by default with entrepreneurs is I need to answer every email within the next 32 minutes. I need to answer every phone call as soon as it rings. I'm supposed to be on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on social media. Oh, now everyone's starting to do videos, so I should be doing videos. Anything that's I should is a sign of default, in my opinion. What do you think?
Absolutely, yes. Things that we think that we're supposed to do because we're at a certain point in our business, because, well, I want to scale, so I've got to go do these things. We have a lot of people in the business world who love to, they're very kind, generous people, and they love to share their best practices. But what people don't understand is there's a lot that goes into what makes something successful for someone and not necessarily aligned for someone else. So when we start following other people's best practices, God love them, they're not always going to work for us. And there's lots of different variables for that. One that I talk about a lot is human design, right? There's a lot of different elements that go into why something works really well for somebody and doesn't work well for somebody else. But when you look at it from a cookie cutter, as I call it, the cul-de-sac perspective, you're going to get very narrow-minded and think like, oh gosh, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example if it's okay, Sarah. Like when I got to a certain income level in my business, I was like, well, I need to hire a team. I needed this and I needed that and I needed, because that's what you do when you've made it. And what I found was that it watered down the soup. I had more people I had to talk to. I had more interpersonal communication than I was ready for, way more infrastructure than the business needed. And it was more of a vanity metric to be like, look, I have a VA and I have an OBM. And after a while, I ended up getting rid of all of them, not in a mean way, but I was like, you know what? And I slimmed down my business to like this many people, and my profit totally, quadrupled. Why? Well, number one, because I didn't have all that overhead, but number two, because that wasn't aligned for me, right? Like just because you reach a certain point in your business doesn't mean that you have to start making certain business decisions, right? I mean, there's things you have to have. You need to have a Facebook business page. You need to have a website. You need to have links for people to buy your stuff. But that's kind of where it ends. Everything else can be very much catered and and customized to what your business is. And when you start to think that you just have to do things this way, oh gosh, I got 3 emails, I've got to stop what I'm doing and go do that, that's when it's like you're going to start to see that alignment start to dissolve, and you're going to not feel like you're even you in your business anymore. And I've seen that happen a lot with my clients. I'm sure you've seen that happen with yours, where that burnt out comes and you're just like, why am I even doing this? I used to love this, and now it just feels like another job. Like it just feels like I have a job.
Yes, and I'll have clients who are like, well, I should be on social media. And I'm like, who said that? Like, I like how you said, you should have a business Facebook page. Again, I'll challenge it. Not necessarily.
Right. I mean, I just mean like the things that are like, the duh things, like someone's going to look for you type of things.
Yeah, they need to be able to find you somewhere else. But like giving ourselves the gift of challenging everything.
Yes.
Like, is it in alignment? And I love that you talked about human designs. For people who don't know, human design is more of I want to say a personality modality to help us understand our personality, but understand who we are in our core. Mm-hmm. And for me, that
is the differentiation.
Yeah.
It's what explains what makes us all different and unique. Like, what are the qualities that the personality and the design, so our body and our mind, and how each one of us has our own calibration for that, kind of like a part in a play, basically.
Yes, so all these little things are, and it's funny because living by default, it's not like something from one day to the next you're like stuck in a box. It kind of creeps in. Oh, this person does this. Oh yeah, in our industry we do this way. Oh, now everyone's doing this. Oh, now I have to. And it's kind of like it just creeps in, and then at one point you're in a box and you're like, I'm not liking this. This is not it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not a big thing. Sometimes it's just like you just know that there's something more.
Mm-hmm. Also, energetically, it starts to creep in too, because I'm a big proponent of energetics and the
Mhm.
magnetism that you have as an entrepreneur when you're bringing in your ideal clients, right? So if you're not feeling good in your business, if you're dreading it every morning, if you're like, I don't even want to do this, like, oh my God, another email. Oh, look, I have to take another intake. People feel that on the other side. And so it's very important that you're really honing down to the things that you love to do in your business. There might be things that like if you don't love to write emails, don't write emails. You can outsource your emails or you can not send emails. Not everybody does. So don't feel like there's certain things that you have to do just because they're done in the industry. If they're not aligned for you, they're not going to work for you.
And there's something you said before we started talking, we started recording today is your life is your job. Your dreams are your job.
Absolutely.
Okay, can you expand on that?
Yeah. So depending on what your belief is, God, source, higher power, whatever you believe we came from, there is this idea that our lives are the dreams of the creator, right? So we're here in order to live these lives and to do good in the world. I believe we're all here to create more wholeness. So whatever it is that's on your heart to do, whatever passion you have, that is there because that is your incentive to continue to do the wholeness in the world, right? It's like your carrot, so to speak, from the universe. So when you start to feel like something feels really good for you, you need to pursue that, because that passion and that is what's fueling you toward your purpose, whatever it is that you're here to do. So when you think like, oh my gosh, I really want to go to Greece and I really want to paint, the water there, and like there's something to that. And so you really have to lean into why you're doing what you're doing, because there's a reason that feels good to you, because it doesn't feel good to somebody else, right? The thing that you want to do, somebody else is like, oh, you want to have a podcast, the thought of putting my voice on audio, like, oh, that doesn't appeal to me, right? But it does to some people, because that is what is on their heart to do. And so maybe they're here to have a voice for a certain cause, or maybe they're here to give people, the confidence to be able to stand up for themselves, or, empower them in some way. And so that is the purpose, right? That the universe, God, source, higher power wants to have happen. And so you are the one who is imprinted with that delicious feeling when you do it, because it keeps you running that race. So when you feel like these are these things that are like, oh, that's just a pipe. No, it's not. Your dreams are your job. And you know what's so interesting, Sarah, and tell me what you think of this. People brag all the time about their work ethic. Oh, I've got great work ethic. When you go for a job, you put it on your resume, and I've got great work ethic. But I want to know, when are people going to start prioritizing their dream ethic? When are you going to put as much time into deciding what you truly desire? When are you going to put as much time into visualizing the big picture, and what does it look like at the end, and what does your legacy look like? As much as you do prioritizing, well, I just hired this funnel hacker and I just did this and I've got all, I wrote 27 emails. Great. But what is that all in pursuit of? Because if that end thing is still amalgamous and up in the air and in the quantum, then you have just as much chance of finding it as you do of finding a pair of shoes in a TJ Maxx on Black Friday.
I love that. And it's so true. And I raised my hand because for a while now, like the way that I plan even my week is like, yes, I have my client meetings, but my client meetings are all structured in a way. Like I don't have meetings before 10 a.m. I will go to yoga 4 or 5 times a week. I will go to the spa 2, 3 times a week. Then I'll put like all these things, and then I'll put the rest of this stuff. And where in the past I would have thought, no, like I need to, work hard and do more and work more, and I'm make more money now.
Yeah.
Putting fun as the first thing in my calendar, and then filling it with the rest.
Yeah. It's crazy how that happens, right?
It's very interesting. So I believe, actually, and by experience, I noticed that people don't know what they want. So how do people get more clarity with what they do want and really build the dream and design the life and the business that they want? How do we go about it?
That's a good question, and I am ready to answer it. So I have something called the Dream Design Blueprint. And it is a 3-step process for you to really nail down what it is that you want. So it starts with a feeling, right? If you think about it, everything that you want in life, you don't necessarily want that thing. You want the feeling that's associated with it. So you see all these people want to go to Yves Saint Laurent and all these places to get these handbags, right? But why do you want the handbag? If I said to you, hey, you can have all the feelings, right? The prestige, the, oh my gosh, I made it, but I'm going to give you a Walmart bag and you get to keep all your money, but you're going to have all the feelings. Who's not going to be like, heck yes, everybody's going to think I still have this bag. Everyone's going to think it's Chanel. It's going to feel like Chanel. It's going to do. So all of those feelings are what we're really trying to create. So the first thing is to think about what are the feelings you want to have in your business, right? Or in your life. It really doesn't even have to be your business. So accomplishment, success, joy, exuberance, ecstasy, whatever it is. Great. So we've got all of our feelings. So we write down our feelings. Now, the next thing we do is say, okay, we know that feelings, well, I know, and you know, that feelings and thoughts go hand in hand. So when we have a feeling, there's going to be a corresponding thought. So what kind of thoughts and, affirmations might I be saying in conjunction with those feelings? So let's say it's success. I am so proud of myself. I made it happen. I got us there. I did it. Right? So now we've got, okay, here are the feelings, success. Here are the thoughts and affirmations. And now, because everybody always likes to start at this part, now we bring in the tangible outcomes. So what I like to say is if an alien from another planet dropped down in front of you, how would they know that you have this feeling and these thoughts? How would they know that you were successful and that you had these thoughts of, I'm successful, I'm proud, I'm so excited? So then it's like, what does that look like to the outsider? Well, she just got an award. She just got asked to speak on a giant stage. She just made $1 million, right? So now we've got what those things are, and now we can start designing that dream, right? So it's like, oh, she just, she just got to be on a stage. Great. How does that feel for you? Well, that feels great. Awesome. So how can we get you on stage? So then we start visualizing. What's it going to feel like when you're on the stage? Get on the stage. Who is out there? Is it parents? Are you talking to, a school? Are you on a TED Talk? Are you speaking at Funnel Hacker Live? Are you on stage with, I don't know, the thought leaders, the Bob Proctor people or whatever? Like, what does that look like? And so when you start with the feeling and go through the blueprint, it's a lot easier to tap into what you actually desire.
That's so true. And it's funny, I'm listening and I'm like, and I'm feeling it when you're talking because, like I mentioned, I'm at the spa on a regular basis, and the feeling that I get when I'm at the spa makes it that I want to go back. Makes it that, yes, there's always more stuff on my to-do list, but the feeling and the freedom, because that's what I'm feeling when I'm there, makes it that, you know what, the to-do list can definitely wait because it's a never-ending thing anyways. There's always going to be something to do.
And that feeling that you get that feels good in your body is your incentive to keep doing that. Because are you a generator, Sarah?
No, I'm a projector.
You're a projector. Okay. So it's your fuel so that you can be your best self, right? So my manifesto is only when we're at our highest vibration, taking optimal care of ourselves, can we do our greatest good in the world. So for you to be your most shining light, you have to go to the spa. So it feels good to go to the spa because that's your job. Your dream is your job. Do you see how that all fits together?
Yes, and I'll even add on to that. In the morning when I go to yoga, often some of my best social media posts come during or after yoga because I like having time. Time for me is like, oh, I need it. I need to have time to myself. I need to have time to reflect, to let things land, So what is the best? It actually, I get a business results in terms of visibility and input by taking the time to go to yoga, because that's where the best ideas comes out. So then I'll meet somebody and they'll talk about a post that I wrote after yoga, because that space for me is important. So there is an impact, a direct correlation on my business when I stay into that emotion.
And because of the energy you were in when you wrote that post, that imprints on the post, and the person who's reading it feels that high vibrational energy when they read it. They're like, oh, she was on cloud nine when she wrote this. I want to. And that's the other thing too. People don't buy what you do. And Simon Sinek says they buy why you do it. I don't even think that's true. I think people buy how you feel
and how it makes them feel.
But also they are mirroring how you feel. So if they think if you feel like that, you can help me feel like that.
Yes.
So when you're writing those posts from that such aligned place, people are like, Sarah, give me more.
Yes.
Because you're in that high vibration.
Yes. And I think the whole idea of designing a business and the love that and the life that we want, because it all goes together, starts with that understanding that, am I stuck in the default? What am I doing by default? Am I doing things from a place of alignment, or it's just because that's how it's done? Going back to the feeling that I want to live, and then designing my life and my business around that. Because at the end of it, on our last breath, we're not going to go, oh, I'm so happy I had so many clients. I think that we're going to be like, today was it a heck of a ride?
Yeah, absolutely.
AmyLee, before I ask you my last question, where can people find you online, your work, your energy? Where can they tap into online on that?
No, I can't hide that generator, can I? So I have a website, AmyLeeWestervelt.com. It's a good name for it, I think. And I have a Facebook group, and it's called Designed to Dream. And in it, we talk about human design. We talk about tapping into your desires, really getting into that creative process, giving yourself permission to feel it in your body when you want something, and to unapologetically ask for what you want, and to really surrender to the whims of the universe, that you are a vessel in order to bring forward the beauty and the magic that you're here to create, and you get to enjoy the heck out of it while you do it. So I'd love to have you guys there if you'd like. And there's lots of free info and all that stuff, and there's freebies and stuff on the website as well.
Perfect. I'll make sure we put the link there. And I love how you said unapologetically ask for what you want. Mm-hmm. AmyLee, what is your definition of a life well lived?
I would say that my definition of a life well lived is making an impact on the next generation, being able to bring forward what you learned and what you healed, and being able to imprint that on those who will take over leadership after you. So I have 5 children. They're 10 and under. And it's very important for me that, I find that when I parent, I watch my whole childhood flash before my eyes. I see my daughter, and I then see the other side of what I experienced as a child. And so for me, it's very important that she understand just a little nuance more than I did in terms of like what mom really means, and really going that extra mile to make sure she understands that we're both people having, a humanistic journey. And being able to just share a little bit about where I came from and what I learned, and pass that on to her so she can then learn what she learned and where she came from, and so eventually we will have this very whole, very beautiful species that hopefully will have been poured into by the generations before. So for me, that's what it's really about. It's really about showing my kids that we're here to design. I mean, my kids talk about manifesting like at the breakfast table. They're like, I'm going to manifest the best pumpkin this year. Like that's their vernacular. And I love it, and it's funny, if you asked me when I was younger, I would have been like, oh my God, those hippie children that live down the street. But in healing myself and what I was projected on from my parents and what they maybe thought about that, I've taken that a step further. So it's once removed, and now my daughter sees this frame of reference for what spirituality looks like, and she'll take from it and she'll create her frame of reference, right? And so this will be built, and these children will be consistently poured into so that they can become contributing members of society, so they can become next level leaders. So to me, that's what a life well, and of course my husband and our romance and all that, that's just icing on the cake.
That's nice. But I love the ripple effect, you know. Amy, thank you so much for everything that you do. And we connect really well because that's it. We both have this desire to help, you know, wake up of people living by default and say, you know what, you get to design it all. And I love your word, unapologetically. That word. Apparently it's not coming up right now. But, you know, like no apologies needed. You just design it, go for it. It's all worth it.
Absolutely. Yep. It's all in your hands. You get to design it. Get the junk out of the way that says you don't deserve it, that it's not going to work, that you're not worthy. And once you move that out of the way, get out that beautiful pen, you know, that creates everything, and just start painting that picture. And you'll be surprised. You will be surprised how quickly those things start to move into alignment when you figure out what they are.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And you know what? Share it. You might want to listen to it once or twice also, and share it with people that you see, and you're able to have conversation of, hey, are you living by default? Because I'm feeling that sometimes I'm doing things not because I want to, but because I have to. I don't know the research on this, but I'm sure the probability is 120% of people do not go on their deathbed and saying, I'm so happy I made so much money, and I'm so happy I worked so much, and I'm so happy I gave my time to all these obligations. So if it's not going to matter then, why does it matter now? So living and designing our lives, as AmyLee said, it's our job, nobody else's. So on that note, when we see that it's our job, when we get to the feeling, what's the feeling? I want to feel more. And we live that more and more and more. I can tell you for sure, that's when we start seeing that so much more is possible. Thank you for being here week after week, and I will see you next Tuesday.